In this last video, I'm going to show you now a trick how we can also place, for example, textures, kind of like logos, etc. And you see here right now, I like things to be precise, so I can't help myself, but I want this to be perfectly cleaned up. So I'm going to export this PNG, yeah, and this one replace, okay. Reload image. Yeah. So let's say maybe here I would like to have some text or a logo. So I'm going to here. So I can roughly maybe guess where maybe I need this to be. So kind of like in this area. Actually, I have a partial logo here, so let's try to use this one and put it over. So I'm copy and paste. What I need to do now first is I want to get rid of the background. Okay, great, perfect. Copy. I don't need you. And then I paste it here. And now I can place it somewhere. Maybe here. I don't know. Small one there. Okay, so now how do I bring this one over? A few things I need to do. I need first maybe for visual reference it will be easier if I keep this one white. So I click export PNG, and for example I call this one logo. Actually, hold on. Try to get used to call those correctly. So for example, I call this one logo color. And then in Blender, so this should be for the white. Check out this. I'm going to duplicate a texture input, click open, select my logo, and then this thing I do not put into any mix shader, I just put it into the color. So this diffuse material is not using kind of like this color I have this defined here, but it is using my my logo actually. So there's no my logo on it. And then the white color of my part, that is actually the white background. So it actually means, well, in this case, the logo has to go down quite a lot. So let's go to here and say you still have to go down, maybe till there. Export PNG, logo color, export, replace, and reload image. There, perfect. See? It's not really very difficult. It's actually quite easy, pretty awesome. Let's add some text. And, oh, maybe awesomeness. I'm going to make this one maybe a little bit bigger. Export PNG, logo color, replace, and reload image. There. Problem, you see the text can get bent a little bit. Specifically here, from there we see the best how it arcs over. So maybe we have to rotate the text a little bit. Maybe let's make it a little bit smaller. I guess it's a little bit obnoxiously large. And hold on, is that Control R? No, Control F. Yeah, Control F. There. And export. And then back in Blender. Reload. There. So, it's a little bit better. Okay, so let's say we don't like the text. But what I would like to do is, instead of having this white background, and without having to define the background here in the application, I would still like to be able to create a color here, but also have this logo as an overlay. Not really a problem. So what we have to do is, again, we have to create a black and white, like a stencil map. So what I do is I command on the Mac, and I think on the PC it's Control, click on this layer. So it creates a selection of my logo here. And then I fill this selection, for example, with black. So on this, I export PNG, and for example, this one, no, I call logo alpha. So let me show you what I'm going to do now. And you notice already that, well, the material might get a little bit complex, but see it this way. There's maybe a little bit of upfront work, but then you will see, like in a moment, you are so flexible in adjusting and exploring different designs. So I Shift D, duplicate this one. And for example, in here, I open this alpha image. Okay, perfect. So, and now I would like to have something similar like your shader mixer, but I would like to have a color mixer. So Shift A, color, mix RGB. So it's basically the same like this one, but instead of mixing between different material or shaders, it is actually mixing just between two dump colors. So I can put this one, for example, in here, patch this one down there. And for example, now if I change this color, and there you see what's happening. So red, that's actually where my logo should be. So my logo texture I put in there. Ga-ding. So the really awesome part is now, well, maybe at one point I don't want this to be a white background. Well, maybe it should be one of those yellows. So I could click on the color input, click on the eyedropper, and sample a color. Maybe not really that great. Maybe the red. Or maybe a gray. Or blue. So you see, you are extremely flexible with this setup. This is something I use a lot in my work, also with my clients, when a product is more or less kind of like in a stage that we can think about coloring. I don't want to go all the time back into Photoshop and adjust all these images and textures and reload them. I simply create a material network where I have different material inputs, and then I can simply work with the material colors or types, because this one, for example, is a diffuse. Well, I could also say shader, glossy, copy and copy, put this one in there. So maybe this should be slightly rough. So right now you don't necessarily see super much because it's not really rendering. This is a very basic preview, but let me show you what happens when we do a rendering. And yeah, hold on, sorry. I have to turn on maybe my light a little bit. See, I'm blending between a glossy material or, hey, a metallic reflective material, or maybe this diffuse material I have should not be diffuse. So for example, in here, and it is this one, I say this should be glossy. And maybe it might make sense if I put in the environment there. Now you see it better. So you see, maybe make this one reflective or less reflective, and this one maybe should be like nice and polished. So you see, it's not only just the color, you can really mix between different material types. And I think that is where this approach really comes in very handy, because yeah, it really gives you a lot of flexibility to work with. And yeah, this was basically everything for how to work with the texture paint, how to do UV unwrapping, and then how to create, maybe at the beginning, complex looking material layout, which, however, as you can see, afterwards then gives you, when you start into rendering, an insane amount of flexibility to quickly produce rapidly different yeah, kind of like product material layouts. I mean, think about, you would have to draw everything like with this by hand or model it by hand. It will be very time consuming and a little bit upfront work, but then afterwards you can pump out different ideas really, really fast.